Hey language learners, today we're diving into something that can completely transform your English skills. And no, it's not another boring grammar lesson. It's reading. Let's start with a reality check. The world of work has changed dramatically. Gone are the days when reading and writing were optional skills. Now, virtually every job, whether you're in an office, a workshop, or anywhere in between, requires strong communication ability. Reading isn't just a skill, it's a necessity. But here's the exciting part. Reading is like a superpower for language learners. Forget tedious grammar drills and repetitive vocabulary lists. When you read, you're absorbing language naturally and effortlessly. Imagine improving your vocabulary, grammar, and speaking skills without feeling like you're studying. That's the magic of reading. We've got some mind-blowing proof from real-world experiments. In American schools, researchers tried something revolutionary. They gave students fun, interesting books. We're talking exciting titles like James Bond novels, and told them, read if you want to. The results? Incredible. Students who received these books didn't just read more. They dramatically improved their reading and writing skills. Even better, they started enjoying school more. But wait, it gets more interesting. Similar experiments in the Fiji Islands and Singapore showed exactly the same thing. Traditional grammar classes were outperformed by reading-based methods. Students who spent time reading performed better in language tests, learned grammar more naturally, and enjoyed the learning process. Now you might be thinking, but reading seems hard. I'll need a dictionary for every page. Here's a pro tip. Choose materials that are fun and just slightly challenging. Experts recommend understanding about 98% of the words in what you're reading. This means you can follow the story without getting frustrated, and you'll naturally pick up new vocabulary along the way. The key is pleasure. Read what you enjoy. Comics, magazines, detective stories, romance novels, it doesn't matter. The more you enjoy what you're reading, the more you'll learn. Your brain is absorbing language patterns, vocabulary, and grammar without you even realizing it. Think of reading like a secret language learning hack. You're not just reading, you're training your brain to think in English, to understand nuances, to hear the rhythm of the language. And the best part? You're having fun while doing it. So here's your challenge. Pick up a book. Start small. Choose something you're genuinely excited about. Don't worry about understanding every single word. Just enjoy the journey. Ready to revolutionize your English learning? Start reading today. Now let's talk about a game-changing approach to language learning. Imagine a book that grows with you, starting with super simple stories and gradually becoming more complex. That's exactly what language learning experts have developed. Think of it like leveling up in a video game, but for language learning. You begin with short, easy-to-digest stories that don't overwhelm you. These initial stories are your training wheels. They're designed to build your confidence, helping you understand basic structures and vocabulary without making you feel lost or frustrated. As you progress, the stories become more challenging. It's like a carefully crafted language learning journey. You might start with a simple 3-paragraph story about a character's daily routine, and by the end of the book, you're reading more complex narratives with richer vocabulary and more intricate plot lines. And here's a surprise that might blow your mind. Fairy tales are not just for children. Many people dismiss fairy tales as childish, but research shows they're actually incredible tools for language learning. Studies have revealed something fascinating. Novels, including fairy tales, can help you acquire academic and specialized vocabulary across different fields. Let me break that down for you. In one research experiment, scientists found that about 8% of words in novels appear on academic word lists. That means by reading stories, you're not just learning conversational English, you're picking up vocabulary that's useful in professional and academic settings. Another study looked at science fiction novels and discovered that students who read 1 million words of sci-fi actually learned important scientific vocabulary. It's like secret vocabulary training disguised as entertainment. So don't underestimate the power of stories. Whether it's a fairy tale about a magical kingdom or a science fiction novel about space exploration, you're expanding your linguistic capabilities without even trying. It's learning through immersion, the most natural way to acquire a language. The beauty of this approach is its flexibility. You're not stuck with boring, dry textbooks. You're exploring worlds, meeting characters, and absorbing language in context. Each story becomes a gateway to new words, grammatical structures, and cultural nuances. Imagine reading a fairy tale and suddenly understanding complex sentence structures, picking up idioms, and expanding your vocabulary, all while being entertained. It's like having a language tutor who tells you the most engaging stories. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, find a story collection that matches your current English level. Start easy. Have fun. Don't worry about understanding every single word. Let the stories wash over you and watch your English skills transform. Ready to take on this adventure? Open a book and let the magic begin. Now, let me share something that will totally change how you think about language learning. This isn't just theory, it's a proven method tested by a real language learner, reading 1 million words in a single year. Picture this. One determined language learner decided to put the reading method to the ultimate test. Their goal? Read 1 million words in Spanish. Let that sink in. 1 million words. That's equivalent to about 40 novels. Most people would think this is impossible, but here's the incredible part. They achieved an intermediate language level in just 1 year. How did they do it? They started with super easy materials. We're talking beginner level books, then moved to translations of familiar stories like Harry Potter and Game of Thrones. Why translations? Because you already know the plot, so you can focus on language learning without getting lost in the story. Their reading journey progressed naturally. First, easy books. Then, translations of books they already knew. Finally, they moved to completely new books by Latin American authors. They even added podcast transcripts to their reading count. The result? Remarkable language acquisition without traditional study methods. Now, let's talk about the most critical advice for making this work. Choose the right reading materials. The golden rule is understanding about 98% of what you're reading. Sounds intimidating? It's actually liberating. This means you should be able to follow the story without constantly reaching for a dictionary. If you're struggling with more than 2% of the words, it's time to find an easier book. Here's a practical strategy. If a book feels like hard work, drop it. Seriously. No guilt allowed. The moment reading becomes a chore, you're doing it wrong. Language learning should be fun, engaging, and something you look forward to. Don't limit yourself to serious literature. Comics, magazines, detective stories, romance novels, they're all fair game. The key is finding materials that excite you. When you're enjoying what you're reading, your brain becomes a language learning sponge. Think of it like choosing a workout. You wouldn't force yourself to do an intense marathon if you hate running, right? The same goes for reading. Find your language learning workout that feels enjoyable, not punishing. A quick pro tip, start with materials that are actually easier than what you'd read in your native language. Sounds counterintuitive? It works. By choosing super accessible materials, you build confidence and create a positive association with reading in English. Your challenge starts now. Find a book, a magazine, a comic, something that makes you excited to turn the page. Your English journey begins with that first enjoyable read. The path to 1,000,000 words starts with one sentence. Ready? Let's go. Now we're going to talk about the most liberating approach to language learning you'll ever hear. Forget formal exercises and just enjoy the ride. Traditional language learning often feels like a chore. Workbooks, grammar drills, endless vocabulary lists sound familiar? But here's a revolutionary concept. Learning happens best when you're having fun. This approach is all about pleasure, not pressure. Imagine language learning as a journey of exploration rather than a strict academic exercise. No formal drills, no tedious homework, just pure enjoyment. Start with materials that make you smile, spark your curiosity, and leave you excited to dive in. The magic lies in gradual progression. Think of it like leveling up in a video game. You wouldn't take on the final boss on day one, right? You start small, conquer simpler challenges, and slowly work your way up. The same goes for reading in English. Begin with super easy materials. A children's book, a comic strip, or a short magazine article can be the perfect start. These are your training wheels. As your confidence grows, gradually increase the difficulty. Your brain will adapt naturally, picking up complex language structures without feeling burdened. Diversify your resources. Podcasts, for example, are incredible tools for immersion. Story collections provide variety and allow you to sample different styles and difficulty levels. Mix it up. One day you might enjoy a lighthearted short story. The next day, listen to an engaging podcast, and then flip through a colorful comic book. The key here is consistency and enjoyment. Don't think of this as studying. It's a fun adventure. You're discovering new worlds, meeting fascinating characters, and in the process, supercharging your English skills. Here's a mindset shift that will change everything. Every time you read something enjoyable, you're not just reading. You're training your brain to think in English. You're strengthening neural pathways and building fluency without even realizing it. Your English learning journey starts now. Say goodbye to boring textbooks and frustrating exercises. It's time for pure, enjoyable learning. Challenge time. Find one resource that excites you. A podcast, a comic book, a story collection. Something you can't wait to explore. Let your curiosity guide you. Drop a comment below. What fun resource are you going to try first? Let's share ideas and make this a community of adventure-filled language learners. And don't forget, like, subscribe, and share this video with anyone who's ready to transform their English learning experience. Together, we'll make language learning fun, exciting, and something you'll look forward to every single day.